Session. Okay. So good evening, guys. Welcome to the demo session on mastering performance testing with JMeter, load runner, and Neoload tools. In this particular demo session, right, I'm going to concentrate mostly on the JMeter as well as load runner, the course content part and everything. And before going to discuss about the course content, let me introduce myself first. So this is Mohan. I have around 10 years of experience on performance testing. Like my experience is completely on performance testing. I worked on all the three tools like JMeter, Neoload, and LoadRunner. So, like in my experience, I work with App Dynamics and Dynatrace tools also. But as a part of this particular training, right? So we'll go with the Dynatrace, which is mostly used in the market. Okay. So with this basic introduction about me, right? Let's quickly jump into the demo session. So the agenda for today's session is I'll start with the project discussion. Okay. So like most of the people are already having experience here, and few people they are completely new to performance testing also here, right? So I'll just start with the project discussion, how the project is going to come to the software company and what exactly the process that is going on over there, right? So once after discussing that, I'll discuss about what happens once the application is in live. Okay, so once after discussing that part, we'll jump into the basic introduction to performance testing, and I'll explain about the performance testing life cycle process on a high level. Okay, and then we'll go into the course content. So this is what the agenda for today's session, and finally after the course content, right, I'll give the floor for question and answer sessions. Okay, so feel free to stop me as I mentioned, anytime if you have any doubts in any part. Okay, so let's start with the project discussion. Okay, so what exactly mean by project discussion here is nothing but, see, we need to understand the flow first, right? As a performance tester, we need to know how the project is going to work. Okay, how an application is going to be developed, right? Who is client? Okay, what exactly the software company will do? Okay, these things we need to know on a high level, right? So our project discussion always starts with client. Okay, so who is client according to you guys? Can you please make this session more interactive? So how can we define a client? Mhm. Client here is nothing but the customer to that particular software company. So if we want to define the client, right, on a high level, I can say client is an individual or an organization, okay, that specifically needs a software product. So for example, there is one company called Flipkart. Okay. So for that particular Flipkart application, they need one software product, okay, like an e-commerce application. In order to sell the products to the client, to the users, right, end users, they need one particular application called e-commerce application, right? So in order to get that particular product developed, okay, this Flipkart company, okay, is the client here. This particular client is going to approach the software company. Okay, so now multiple teams from the software company, they are going to interact with the client, and they are going to discuss with the client about the requirements. Okay, so what exactly the client will do is he is going to provide his vision and goals as well as the business objectives. Okay, so what is meant by the vision here, according to the client, is nothing but what exactly he want to achieve with that particular software. So that is what the vision that the client is going to provide it to the software company. And what is the business objective? Here is nothing but like the key goals, such as how to increase the sales and how to improve the efficiency with the help of the user engagement, right? So those kind of business objectives he is going to discuss here, okay, in a meeting with the software company team. And who are all is going to attend that meeting is nothing but, as a first team, like business analyst team is going to attend this meeting as a first priority. Okay, so what the business analyst will do? Any idea like what the business analyst will do? Business analyst, yeah, please. Someone is trying to answer. Okay, so business analyst team is going to have multiple members, and each and every member is going to have some good knowledge on the specific domain actually. So, for example, like Flipkart kind of company, if Flipkart kind of company is a client, so which is nothing but a retail domain company, right? So, which is related to retail domain. A person who is having good knowledge with the retail domain, right? So, that person from the business analyst team, he is going to interact with the client and he is going to get some inputs from the client regarding his vision as well as the business objectives, and based on that inputs he is going to simply provide the key deliverables as well as workflows and specifications. Okay, so what is meant by the key deliverables in this case? Key deliverables here is nothing but what kind of features, okay, need to be built based on his based on the client's input or the client requirement. This business analyst is going to finalize like what kind of features, okay, that need to be built over here. So that is the key deliverable that the business analyst is going to provide, and apart from that he's also going to provide the workflows as well as the specifications. Okay, that means he's going to provide the detailed flow charts, okay, as well as the requirement documents. Okay, so after discussing with the client like what exactly that need to be built and how that process should be, okay, so he's going to provide everything in the form of a flow chart as well as in the form of a requirement documents. And once after preparing all these things, right, this business analyst is going to be is going to act as a bridge between the client as well as the technical teams. Okay, he is going to act as a bridge between the client as well as the technical teams. Once after preparing the key deliverables and workflows and specifications, right, this business analyst, he is going to provide that information to the UI and UX team. UI and UX team is nothing but user interface and user experience team, right? So what this particular team will do is this particular team will create the user interface as well as the user experience principles. Okay, they are going to create in a simple way. If I want to tell, like they are going to create the proper user interface for the flows, whatever the requirement is. For example, right, what are generally the basic flows that we may expect for an simple e-commerce application like Flipkart or Amazon? What are the different flows that we may expect? Like the first page should be the launch page, wherein the user should once after launching the page, the user interface should be like he's going to see all the categories, okay, related information as well as the products related information and the newly introduced product related information, right? That kind of screen is what the expectation once the user going to launch the application, right? That user interface is going to be developed by this UI UX team, right? Not only that user interface, for each and every page, like if some user is going to register into the application, okay, so there for that he need one registration page, right? So wherein he need to enter few details, so what sort of details that we need to enter and everything. Okay, so that kind of user interface is going to be developed by the UI and UX teams, right? Once after designing particular flows, right, that particular user interface details and everything, so this UI UX team, right, they will inform the client regarding the development process, right? So whatever that they have developed, right, they will show that inputs to the client and they will get some feedback, okay, on that inputs from the client. Okay, so once the client is going to say like I'm okay with everything, right, so once the client got satisfied with the user interface, right, then immediately This business analyst again is going to connect with the next team, that is the development team, right? Now the development team, what they will do is they are going to simply develop the backend code. Okay, so the front end part will be handled by the UI UX team, and the backend part, like the code development and other things, is going to be handled by the development team. Okay, so before going to discuss the other part, like I think Sheikh, like you have some question, right? Please proceed. You raised some hand. Someone raised the hand. Like if you have any question, please you can unmute yourself and you can ask. Okay, cool. Okay, so let's proceed with the next part, right? So what the development team will do is they are going to develop the code for the front end. Okay, so they are going to develop the backend code for the front end screens, whatever the UI UX team provided. And also they will maintain like how we are going to integrate our code with the database and everything. They are going to take care of all those things, right? On a high level, I can say they will maintain the technical architecture, as well as they will also maintain the timelines and milestones, right? So within how much time the development process should complete, right? And what are all the different functionality challenges that they may face, and how they need to overcome that, right? These kind of detailed documents they are going to provide, they are going to develop here, and along with that they will develop the code also, which is required for the whatever the UI UX screens that the UI UX team provided, right? So once the code got developed, right, so that particular code they are going to provide it in the form of a build to the QA team. Okay, ignore my handwriting, I'm writing with mouse. Okay, so ignore my handwriting please. So they are going to convert that code in the form of a build, and that build is going to be provided to the QA team here, right? QA team is nothing but quality assurance team, so that is nothing but our testing team. So here generally, right, the testing team will do the functional testing, right? If the application is completely new, they are developing from the scratch, right? Initially, like previously in past like past 10 years back, or so what they are going to do is they are going to perform only the functional testing here. That means they are going to test only the functionality of the application. Each and every button in that application is working fine or not, each and every feature in that application is working fine or not, right? So this QA team, they will check only that initially. But nowadays, what happened, right? Because of some issues, whatever that they have faced, right? So they started doing the non-functional testing also, right? So here, testing team, they are going to perform functional testing as well as the non-functional testing here. The QA team is going to perform functional testing as well as the non-functional testing. If they have enough budget, right, they will perform both. If the client is having enough budget, they will perform both functional testing as well as the non-functional testing initially itself. If client is going to say like, okay, I don't have enough budget, or I'm not interested to go with the non-functional testing, then what this QA team will do is they will do the functional testing, and they will make sure that each and every functionality of the application is working fine or not. And finally they will provide, or they will give a bug free delivery over here. Okay, so they will provide the bug free delivery output over here in this case, right? So once the application got tested successfully, right, now like we are going to inform the same thing. Sorry. Yeah, 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 I'll cover that in the coming slides. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So as of now, I'm just giving you some overview, like how the project is going to work. I'll cover all the what is functional testing and non-functional testing going forward. Okay, cool. Yeah. So once the QA team is going to give the approval, right, that functional testing is completed, right, and everything is working fine as expected, then the DevOps team is going to come into the picture. So the next step, once the QA team is going to complete the testing, is nothing but we need to make that particular application to go live. Okay, so we need to deploy that particular code to live, to production, right? So that process will be handled by the DevOps team. So DevOps team will take care of that. And once if we provide like go decision from our end, like from the QA team end, then obviously DevOps team, they will take care of the deployments, the production deployment and everything. They will take care from their end, right? So the infrastructure requirements, what sort of infrastructure requirements are there, right? How the deployment pipelines need to be developed, and what sort of scalability and monitoring tools that are required over here. So for example, one of our friend mentioned like Kubernetes, right? So he wants to work with the Kubernetes, right? So when it comes to the scalability, like the Kubernetes will come into the picture, right? So that entire part will be taken care by the DevOps team generally, right? So this DevOps team, they will simply deploy the code to production, right? And on a high level, right, what this project manager will do is he will completely take care of the entire process, right? He is going to have multiple meetings with multiple teams, right? And he's going to have the client as well as team alignment also, and he's going to be in continuous touch with the client, and he's going to provide all the updates to the client, okay, on a daily basis or weekly basis, okay, according to the sprint wise, okay. And finally he's going to take care of the complete project, okay. So that is what the project manager will do. So on a high level, in order to develop one application and in order to do the functionality testing of that application, okay, this is the process, okay, that each and every software company is going to follow. I'm just giving you on a high level here, right? So initially, the client is going to approach one software company with some requirement, and business analyst team is going to sit with the client, and they are going to get the inputs from the client, and based on that inputs, the UI UX team, they are going to develop the front end of that application, and the development team, they are going to develop the back end of the application, the by using some code, okay. And finally they will provide one build, and the QA team is going to simply do the functional testing as well as non-functional testing, okay, on that particular application. If the client is going to say like, I don't have budget for the non-functional testing, just do the functional testing initially, means we'll go with the functional testing alone. So assume that, okay, in this case, okay, in this case, client asked to do only the functional testing. So our software company, okay, they did only functional testing in this case, and they provided the go signal here, right? So once the DevOps team they deployed that application to production, right? So once the application is live, okay, and at that time, what are all the challenges that that particular application may face, right? That we need to know, right? So before going to discuss that part, any questions till now apart from that non-functional testing part? I'll cover that soon. Like apart from that, any other questions here in this space, please feel free to ask. If not, I'll move to the next slide. Okay, silence means no questions, right? So let's quickly move to the next slide. Okay, so here like till this particular slide, right, we are able to successfully deploy the application on the production, right? Now we need to understand what is going to happen once the application is in production, right? Or once the application is live, right? So we need to understand what happens once the application is live. So once the application is live, right? So what generally we'll do is that application code, okay, the DevOps team, they are going to host it on the central server. They are going to deploy that particular code or host that particular code on the central server. Okay. And once the application is live, right, obviously multiple users from different locations, okay, by using different devices, okay, they are going to access that application. Accessing that application in software terminology is nothing but they are going to send the request to the server in order to get some input, like in order to get the required data, they are going to give some input to the server, and what the server will do is it is going to understand that particular request, and it is going to process that particular request, and finally it is going to send the response back to the user. Okay, so here multiple users, they are going to access that application, okay, which is there on the central server, and multiple users parallelly, right, they are going to send the request to the server. So server will understand all those requests and process those requests, and finally it is going to send the response back to the users here. So initially, as the application is completely new, okay, very less users are accessing the application. For example, like I'm taking one number, some random number, some 1K users are accessing the application initially. Okay, at that time, okay, there is no issues on the server side. Okay, or even the users are also not facing any kind of issues from their end, right? But slowly this Flipkart application got popularity, right? So because of that popularity, they thought of uh, going for a sale, okay, big billion day sale kind of thing. So at that time, what happened, right? Like they are confident that their application servers are very working fine and everything is good. So they went for one particular sale called Big Billion Day sale, right? On that particular sale, right? Instead of 1K users, right? Almost all 100K users started sending the request to the server. That means 100K users are accessing that application. So because of this high user load, right? Because of this high user load, what happened, right? These servers are not able to handle those many requests at a time. The server capacity is not that much. So obviously the server is not going to handle those many requests which are coming from multiple users, right? At that time, one thing that the server is going to do is it is going to be overloaded. As a first thing, the server is going to be overloaded. If still, even after the server got overloaded, if still the requests are coming, then after some time the application will be crashed, right? So in this case also, if you remember the first Big Billion Day sale, uh, which is happened in India, right, for Flipkart application, so it went like all the servers of the Flipkart application went down. The reason is the same thing. So more number of users than expected, right? So they tried to access the application, okay, during that particular sale period. So because of that, the server got overloaded initially, and finally the application got crashed, right? So this kind of issue, okay, that Flipkart team got faced here. I'm just taking one example over here. Okay. Yeah. Krishnan, please proceed with your question. Yes. Yes. That is obviously there, but I'm talking about the initial, like the first sale of the Flipkart. Okay. I'm still in the previous era. Okay. I didn't came up to the pods concept here. Yeah. Parts overload issue, that is different. Parts overload issue is different, and again, right, obviously parts overload means whenever if there will be some limit, okay, there will be some threshold for the CPU and memory issues, okay, CPU and memory. So once if that threshold got reached, right, obviously one more pod will be added, okay, and the user load is going to be distributed to the newly added pod also. Okay, one more pod is going to be spinned up, and that newly added pod also will take some user load, and it will reduce the overload conditions there. That is a different, complete different thing. Okay. So I'll come to that part, Krishnan, but that is too early. I'm in the early stage only. Okay. So before this parts concept got introduced, right? At that time, what is the issue that this particular team got faced, right? So I'm just discussing that part. So we'll slowly jump into what are all the solutions for that and everything going forward. Okay. So once if we move to the application architecture, like in our coming sessions, most probably tomorrow or day after tomorrow, right? At that time, I will tell you how this particular issue is going to be overcome. But as of now, this particular application, Flipkart application team, okay, they just asked to go for the only the functional testing initially. So as the non-functional testing is not conducted over there, they started seeing this kind of issue. So that is what my intention here. So initially only functional testing got completed, but here they face some application crash issue, right? Because of the high user load. Now they came to the software company again and they asked like what exactly the issue is. Now the software company member, team members, they clearly told like we did only the functional testing in this case, but non-functional testing is not done, right? So now that particular client is going to ask like what exactly the non-functional testing is, right? Again, when it comes to the non-functional testing, we are going to test the non-functionalities of the application, which is not a functional thing. So when it comes to functional thing, right, let me clearly show you with an example. Okay, so let me open the browser quickly. So let us say I have one application. Okay. So if I want to test the functionality of the application, what generally I'll do is I'll launch this application first, right? So once the application got launched successfully, what I will check here is whether each and every icon in this application, okay, is working fine or not. Whether this search bar is working, search option is working fine or not. Whenever if I'm clicking on the register button, okay, whether I'm able to move to the next page or not, right? So whether this particular image is loading properly or not, right? These are all the functionalities of the application, right? So for this particular page, okay, we have these many options. We need to test all the whether all the options are working fine or not. Okay, so that is what the functional testing is, right? We are going to simply test the functionality of the application, right? But what it what is non-functional testing? So non-functional testing is going to have like again multiple types of testing, like performance testing, security testing will come under the non-functional testing. So when it comes to the performance testing, right, so what it will do is, so instead of verifying the functionality of the application, if you see here what is happening, the application is, this particular page is keep on loading here, right? So when it comes to the non-functional testing, we are going to concentrate mostly on the response times, right? How within how much time this page got loaded, right? So after launching the application, within how much time I got the response from the server. Okay. After clicking on the register button, which within how much time I'm able to see that register page got loaded successfully here for me, right? Once if I click on this register page, within how much time this register page got loaded to me successfully. Once after entering all the details and clicking on the register button, within how much time, okay, the user information, that particular user got registered and that user information is stored in the database, right? So these are all the non-functionalities that we are going to check. When it comes to the application, okay, response time is the major concentration that we are going to look into. But when it comes to the server, right? So as of now, right, if you consider my particular laptop as a server, right? So in my laptop, if I go to the task manager, right? If I right click on the taskbar and if I go to the task manager, I can clearly see the health of my laptop, right? I can see the CPU utilization, memory utilization, disk utilization as well as network utilization, right? So server is nothing but again it's a high-end computer only, right? It is a high-end computer only. Again, that particular computer is also going to have some hardware components as well as the software components. Hardware components in the sense, again, hard disk, okay, like RAM, okay, these kind of things are hardware components. When it comes to the software components, operating system, and what are all the applications that we installed on that, right? So all these will consume some memory, obviously, right? Whenever if one application is running on your machine, okay, it is going to consume some memory, it is going to consume some CPU utilization, right? So if I consider my laptop as a server right now, these are all the applications which are running on my laptop currently, and these are all the different applications which are running on the background. Okay, so each and every application, okay, which is running on my machine will consume some CPU and will consume some memory also, right? So how much amount of CPU utilization is happening, how much amount of memory utilization is happening, how much amount of disk as well as network utilization is happening, right? So identifying or finding out all these things will come under the non-functional testing, which will define the performance of your application. So if you see here, right, if the memory CPU utilizations are less, then I can say like my laptop performance is good. Even though after opening these many applications, if my CPU and memory utilizations are still within the limits, or if it is less, then I can say my laptop performance is good. In the same way, whenever if more number of users are accessing the application which is hosted on a server, right, at that time also, if your application server is capable of serving all those requests successfully without getting overloaded, then I can say like my application performance is good. Okay, so here performance testing is a we are going to do the performance testing in order to identify that, right? So in order to identify how the response times are, in order to identify how the server resources are utilizing here, right, how we are using the server, utilizing the server resources, right, and how the application is behaving under the high user load condition, right? So these kind of things as a part of non-functional testing, as a part of performance testing especially, we are going to verify when it comes to the non-functional testing. When it comes to the security testing, right, security testing is also a non-functional testing. I'm not going to like go deep dive into the security testing for now, but on a high level, so it will the name itself indicates that it is going to verify whether your application is highly secured or not, right? In this case, you can see like I just hosted my application on my local, I hosted this application on my local, or I deployed this application on my local. So that is the reason why it is saying like it is not secured. Why? Because I don't have proper security certificate and other things here, right? So installed on my machine. So that is the reason why it is saying like not secure. Whenever if your application is not secure, then there are more possibilities that your application is going to be hacked soon, right? If it is not secured, obviously someone will hack your application and they will book the products without paying amount. So obviously at the end of the day, you're going to lose the money, right? So for that purpose, security testing is also very, very important, which is a type of non-functional testing. Okay, hope I answered your question. Like, hope you got some clarity, like what is the difference between functional testing and non-functional testing right now. Please confirm whoever asked the question, like what exactly the non-functional testing is. Okay, clear, good. So the same thing happened in this case also, right? So once the application went to live, right, that Flipkart team, they started seeing this issue. Immediately they asked the software team, okay, what exactly the solution for this. So the software team, they suggested to go for the non-functional testing. So in this case, they mainly asked that particular team, okay, or the client to go with the performance testing. Okay, why? Because we are here to learn the performance testing. So I'll talk only on the performance testing part, right? Obviously, security testing is also must, right? But it is not a cup of tea for us, right? Okay, so for us, only the performance testing is the part, right? So now the client said like, okay, proceed with the performance testing process, right? Now we need to understand what is performance testing as a next step. Okay, as a next step, we need to understand what is performance testing. So already we discussed like what is performance testing on a high level. Performance testing is nothing but we have one application on the server, right? And we are going to put more user load on the application, right? We are going to send multiple requests with multiple users, with the help of multiple users on the application, and we are going to test how this application server is going to behave. Okay, whether my application is able to handle that much user load or not. Okay, whether all my servers is going to give the proper response to the n number of requests that are coming from n number of users or not, right? So once after sending these many number of requests, okay, uh, if your server is able to handle these many requests properly without any issues or without any overload or server crashes, then I can say like that application performance is good, right? So and also we need to make sure that how fast your application is, okay, and how stable your application is, and how scalable your application is. How fast your application is nothing but within how much time you are getting the response back from the server. You send the request, but after sending the request, if you are waiting for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it's of no use, right? So within like 5 seconds or 10 seconds you need to get the response back, then only you will stay on the application. Otherwise you'll go to another application, right? So how fast your application is in terms of response time, and how stable your application is, right? So if you are requesting login page, if you are clicking on the login page, right, but unfortunately you are getting some other response because of the high server usage, right, which is not at all required. So that is again an issue for us, right? So we should not get that particular kind of issues over here. And also even with high user load also, your application should provide a stable response and scalable thing. Like even though if the user load is increased more than expected, for example we expected some 20k user load, but all of a sudden 30k users are accessing the application, right? At that time also, okay, your application is going to provide the proper response or not, that we need to think, right? If your application is able to provide proper response even with 30k users also, like the more than the expected user load also, then you can say like your application is scalable, right? So on a high level, okay, performance testing, what it is going to do is it is going to measure how fast, stable and scalable your application is under different conditions. Okay, whether it may be the load conditions or whether it may be the scalability conditions, whatever it may be the condition, right? So how fast, stable and scalable your application is, okay, that is going to be determined by the performance testing here, right? So if you take a car example, right, before launching the particular car on road, right, so obviously they will verify the car speed, fuel efficiency as well as the durability, right? So after doing the testing, all these testings only, they will launch that particular car, right? Otherwise there won't be any sales for that particular car. In the same way, if the application is not good, if the application performance is not good, then obviously no one will visit that application again. They will see huge loss. So because of that, performance testing is mandatory here, right? And who is going to handle this performance testing process is nothing but again QA team, that is quality assurance team. Okay, so the major point that you need to know is, so performance testing is less about finding the bugs. Okay, while doing the performance testing, we are not going to concentrate on identifying the bugs or issues. Okay, our major concentration is going to be there on the performance bottlenecks, how to remove the performance bottlenecks. Okay, so if any functional issue is there, then we are not going to concentrate on that functional issue. So if any functional issue is there, then we are going to call that as a bug in functional testing, right? So we are not going to concentrate on the functionality issues, but we will concentrate on the non-functionality issues. So what are the non-functionality issues here is nothing but bottlenecks, right? So for example, if some X user load is accessing that application, at that time you are seeing some high CPU and memory utilization, right? So what is the reason for that? Okay, you need to identify that reason and you need to provide solution also for that particular issue, right? So that particular process we are going to call it as identifying the bottlenecks and removing the bottlenecks. So what are bottlenecks, okay, and how we need to identify that, we are going to see that going forward. But for now, just understand that we are going to identify what exactly the issue, okay, why we are getting the high response time, what is the major reason for that, okay, and also we need to provide solution for that, like how we can resolve that particular issue also, okay. If at all, if it is possible, we can provide that input also to the developer so that they are going to work on that, right? So this is what the performance testing is on a high level. Any questions here? Please feel free to ask. I hope like most of you know all these things, but again, it is going to be something like a recap for you. So those who are already aware of this, please bear with me as the initial sessions are going on, right? I can't directly jump into the advanced concepts, so please bear with me. Okay, I hope what exactly the performance testing is clear, right? So what happens, like obviously if I'm not going to do the performance testing means no one will like the slow websites, right? So obviously bad performance is nothing but we are going to lose the users. Obviously if users are not accessing that application, it will affect our revenue, right? So during a sale kind of thing, right, obviously if there is some server crash for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it will again it will incur a huge loss for us at the end of the day, right? So within that 10 minutes, maybe some billions of sales are going to happen, right? But we may miss those sale during that particular sale period, right? So because of the server crash, so these kind of issues we can remove, okay, or we can expedite whenever if you are going to do the performance testing here, right? So that is what the performance testing importance here, right? So with this basic idea, we need to understand like how the performance testing process will go. Okay, so once after getting that clarity, right, we'll jump into the course content part. Okay, so we need to understand like okay, you are saying like we need to do the performance testing, but how? Okay, what is the process that we need to follow in order to do the performance testing? Means we need to follow the process called performance testing life cycle. Okay, so there is a process called performance testing life cycle. In short form, we are going to call it as PTLC. Okay, so if we follow this life cycle process, okay, life cycle is nothing but it's a step by step process. Okay, if we follow this process, we can do the performance testing of any kind of application in a more proper way. Okay, so this performance testing life cycle process will start with the first stage called risk assessment stage. Okay, so what generally in the risk assessment stage we are going to do is we are going to interact with multiple teams. Like we are going to interact with the development team, we are going to interact with the DevOps team. Okay, so we are going to interact with multiple teams and we are going to do some team evaluation. Like on a high level, we are going to identify in this risk assessment stage, like what are all the risks that we may expect, okay, what are all the possible risks that we are going to phase. Okay, and what exactly the mitigation for that? Okay, so what may be the mitigation for each and every type of risk? Okay, also we need to discuss here. Okay, what are all the possible risks that we may expect, and also what are all the possible mitigations for each and every risk? And also apart from that, we need to identify the key business scenarios. Okay, key business flows or key business scenarios, okay, during this particular risk assessment phase. So once if you start working on the performance testing of any kind of application, right, we need to understand what are all the different business flows, okay, that are there in that application, and which particular flows are key ones, okay, which particular flows are critical ones, okay, like more users will access like which particular flows, that we need to verify and we need to identify here in the risk assessment stage, right? And also we need to understand the interlinking between each and every flows. For example, if you take one flow one, okay, and if you take again one more flow, flow two, right? So is there any interlink between the two flows or not? We need to identify. Like for example, if we are calling one particular flow, okay, whether any service is calling internally the other flow or not, is there any dependency or not? If I am testing one particular flow, will it affect the other flow or not, right? If I am testing some particular services, will it show some effect on other services or not, right? Those kind of things we are going to verify it, or we are going to assess it in the risk assessment stage by connecting with multiple teams. Once this stage got completed, right, we'll go and do the next stage, that is the POC stage, which is not available here. Okay, so we are going to perform the POC here. POC is nothing but proof of concept. Okay, so we need to identify like with which performance testing tool we need to do that. There are multiple performance testing tools that are available in market, like JMeter, Load Runner, Neoload, Gatling, right? So multiple other tools are also available in market. Like out of all these tools, like JMeter, Load Runner, and Neoload are more popular nowadays, right? So JMeter is the first tool which is more popular, as it is an open source tool, okay, which is available for free. And Load Runner is one more popular tool which is there from very long, okay, in the market, and which is the benchmark tool, right? So whatever may be the performance testing tool, right, it will always compete with the Load Runner tool itself. Like Load Runner tool, I can say it's a benchmark tool, but it's a paid tool. Like we need to purchase the license in order to do the performance testing with the help of that particular tool. Even like Neoload, when it comes to Neoload is also a paid tool. Okay, we need to purchase license for the Neoload tool also. But the license cost of Neoload tool is somewhat comparatively less when it compared to the Load Runner, right? So with if you compare Neoload tool license cost, okay, it is going to be less when compared to Load Runner. So that is the reason why nowadays like Neoload is also becoming popular, right? So in the POC stage, right, what generally we will do is we'll identify which particular tool is feasible for us for our application, right? We are going to take some key business scenarios, and we are going to take help of the tools, like what are all the tools that are available, like JMeter, Load Runner, and Neoload. We'll record the flows with the help of the tool. We are going to do the script enhancements, and we are going to test our application flows with the help of all the tools, whatever that we are choosing. So for example, in this POC stage, if I'm planning to go with JMeter, Load Runner, and Neoload tools, right, I'll take those three tools, and I will take one or two key scenarios, and I'll do the performance testing of those scenarios with the help of all the three tools separately. And I'm going to create one comparison report over here among all the three tools. So which tool is finally good? Okay, I'm going to prepare one comparison report, okay, with all the pros and cons of each and every tool, okay, mentioned clearly. and that document we are going to show it to the client. Okay, so based on the client's approval, okay, if client is going to say like I'm okay to go with the free tool, then we'll go with the JMeter tool. If client is going to say like I'm okay, I have enough budget to go with, then we'll go with the load runner tool. If client is going to say like I need a license tool but the license cost should be less, means then I'll go for neoload, right? So that tool identification or tool finalization, which with which particular tool we are going to do the performance testing, that is going to be finalized in the POC stage. So once the POC stage got completed, right, then the next stage, NFR gathering stage, will be happened, right? NFR means non-functional requirements. As I mentioned, performance testing is a non-functional type of testing. We need to gather some non-functional requirements from the client. So here we are going to sit with the client and we are going to ask multiple questions to the client, okay, regarding the application, and we'll get all the inputs from the client, right? What are all the questions that we are going to ask and everything we'll see in a step-by-step process. Once after NFR gathering, like we are going to ask multiple questions to the client, okay, and what sort of questions that we are going to ask the client, we'll see those things in our coming sessions going forward, okay. And once after completing the NFR gathering, once after getting the information from the client, immediately we will go and prepare the test plan or test strategy over here, right? The next stage is the test planning stage, wherein we are going to prepare the test plan document, right? Again, so what are all the different content that we need to place it here in the test plan document or the test strategy document, that we will see going forward. But on a high level, this test plan document is going to provide you the complete testing process, like how like where you are going to start the performance testing and where you are going to end it, right? It is going to give you the complete picture. This test plan document is going to give you the complete plan of your performance testing process, okay. So that document we are going to create it, okay. Once the document got created, immediately we'll jump into the next step, that is the test scripting stage. So here we are going to take help of the performance testing tool. So if we are going to test the, if we are going to, if your client is going to confirm like to go with JMeter, then here we are going to use the JMeter tool. And with the help of the JMeter tool, right, we are going to simply record all the flows, okay, all the key business scenarios, whatever that we finalized. And once after recording all the flows, we are going to do the enhancement of that particular flows, okay, and we will simply allocate the multiple users to that particular flows, okay, in the test scripting part. So how we are going to do it, slowly we will learn each and everything in our coming sessions, right? So in the test scripting stage, as of now, you need to understand like we are going to simply take help of the tool, and with the help of the tool we are going to record the application, we are going to do the required enhancements, and also we are going to apply the user load over here, okay. And the next step is the workload modeling stage, right? In the workload modeling stage, we are going to calculate a value called pacing, okay, with the help of one formula called Little's law. So what is pacing and what is the Little's law formula, we'll see going forward. But why we need to do this, we need to understand. So again, whenever if we are doing the performance testing, right, we need to do the testing by keeping something in my mind, in our mind, right? So in our case, for example, if we are testing this application, there should be some proper output also, right? So we need to compare our test output with that proper output, right? So that we'll get some clarity. For example, the client requirement here is some 1,000 user registrations should happen, is what the client requirement, right? Then what we will do is, in order to reach this particular count, okay, we need to calculate a value called pacing. So that pacing value we are going to calculate with the help of the Little's law formula in this particular workload modeling stage. Okay, so in the workload modeling stage, in order to reach the required transactions per hour, we are going to call that as required transactions per hour. In order to reach the required transactions per hour, okay, we need to calculate a value called pacing, and that is going to be done in the workload modeling state with the help of a Little's law formula. Okay, so what is pacing, what is transactions per hour, all these things we are going to learn slowly in our next steps, okay, in our next classes. Okay, just bear with me till that particular time. Okay, and the next step, once after the workload modeling part is done, what we are going to do is we are going to do the test execution here as well as the result analysis. We will run like multiple tests like load test, stress test, endurance test, spike test. So we'll execute different types of tests over here, and we are going to verify the performance of the application, okay, in each and every test execution. And also we'll do the result analysis. Once after the test got executed, we will get some result, right? We need to analyze that result, and we need to verify whether everything is working fine as expected or not. Okay, so whether the response times are within the limits or not, whether the server like CPU, memory, disk as well as network utilizations are within the uh, respected values or not, right? So those things we need to analyze here. Once everything is good, then we'll go for the last stage, that is the test reporting stage, wherein we are going to report everything to the client. We are going to mention like these are all the different types of test executions that we have performed, and each and every test, this is the result we got it, and this is the analysis of each and every result, right? So we need to mention everything in the form, we need to prepare everything in the form of a test report, and that report we are going to submit it to the client. And what your client will do here is, your client is going to simply look into that result, and if everything is good, your client will say okay. Okay, so that particular code is going to be now deployed on the production, right? So this is on a whole, on a high level, this is what the performance testing life cycle process is. Going forward, right, we'll take one particular project, and we'll start with each and every stage, and we are going to prepare each and every document, like how we are going to prepare in real time. Okay, we are going to prepare each and every document here, and then we'll jump into the test scripting part here, right? First we'll start with the risk assessment stage. So before going to risk assessment stage, I will provide you the KT, like the knowledge transfer on that application, whatever that we are going to use. And once after getting that KT, we'll start with the risk assessment stage, and then slowly we'll go stage by stage, and we'll prepare all the documents, like the real time, in real time how we are going to prepare the documents, right? I'll provide you some real time documents also. So with the help of those documents, we'll prepare each and every document that we need to develop in each and every stage, and we'll cover on the basis of this performance testing life cycle process only. Okay, we'll follow only these steps, and we'll follow like by following these steps, we are going to test the application here, test the performance of the application here. Okay, this is what we are going to do it on a high level. Any questions till now? Please feel free to ask. Okay. If questions are not there, like it's already 9:40, I don't want to take much of your time. Okay. If questions are not there, like for today, I'll stop it here. And in tomorrow's session, I'll show you the course content and what exactly the process that I'm going to follow. Okay. And other things, right? I'll show you the application, like which on which we are going to do the performance testing, right? So all those things I will show you clearly. So I have like a week wise plan here. So for each and everything I will explain clearly. So whatever that I am explaining here, we are going to follow the same process. Okay, and we are going to simply do the performance testing of the application here. Okay, we'll do each and everything as I mentioned over here in this particular plan. And also I'll show you the application, okay, whatever that we are going to test. And I'll show you like how we can integrate our like integration part. I'll cover it slowly, but I can show you by running one particular test over here, how we can see that particular result over here in the Dynatrace, right? So those like on those high level things I'll cover on a high level in tomorrow's session, and I'll explain you the course content also along with this, so that you will get some clarity. It's already 9:42, so I don't want to put much stress on you, right? So I am going to stop the session here for today. If any questions are there, like now, you can ask your questions.